Hi there, Sherry Schreiber with another Naked Truth video for you today. This isn't something I've talked about on my website, gettingbetter.com, but this is something I think is important for you to hear today. You're either going to love me for this video or you're going to hate me for it, I think. But it's something having to do with human nature. And I found there's no way around this. So I wanted to float it your way today and assist you in realizing that there are people that you will deal with in this lifetime that you can't deal with gently. You just can't. And the reason for this is they've grown up with such neglect and or abuse that if you're gentle with them, it doesn't get through to them, doesn't break through their little bubble that they're encapsulated in and get their attention. It just doesn't. And I've experienced this numerous times in my life, trying to get my needs met with somebody and not being able to until I really rear up on my rear haunches and I've got my dukes up and I'm getting pretty well on the edge of nasty with them. That gets their attention. That gets them willing to help me or respond to me. And nothing else gets through. I don't like having to behave in those ways. I haven't liked having to behave in those ways with some of my clients that were resistant to being helped or were very much more concerned with being non-compliant with treatment than compliant with it. I've gotten pretty tough with those people. At times, kicked them in the head a few times just to get their attention to what I expected of them so that they could get well and become whole, healthy, happy, contented human beings. But I've also had to do this out in my private world. Years ago, when I decided to get my ideas and thoughts and concepts that I've been formulating for decades out there into the world, and I decided to put my website up or have it constructed by somebody. This fellow was wonderful. He was terrific. He was inexpensive. He was fast. He was thorough. I gave him an idea of what I wanted my main page to look like. I said I want it to be black and have some really vibrant, juicy colors. Excuse me, shedding coming off the page. And man, his first rendering for me, his first artistic rendering for me was literally perfect. We tweaked a couple things in terms of the super links that we wanted on there, but it was just perfect. But thereafter, when I needed something from him in terms of a graphics change or something like that, I had to fight tooth and nail for it. I just couldn't get his attention on that task. And this frustrated me and it made me angry until I'm coming out with my dukes up, basically being very kind of tough and harsh with him in incrementally stronger ways as I went along and still couldn't get his attention for a while. Finally got his attention. Then he'd finally respond to my need. And I thought to myself, he's showing me a lot about the environment within which he lived as a child. If a parent's always screaming at you, it gets your attention. It's what motivates you. Nothing I did in terms of giving him kudos or appreciation for the wonderful things he did for me and the wonderful job he was accomplishing for me had any impact whatsoever. Positive reinforcement didn't work with this guy. Harshness is the only thing that worked with him. I don't like it when I have to bring my dark side into an interaction with somebody else. But there are times when it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, I'm going to sit there with my dick in my hand, trying to get my needs met. Pardon the expression. I am definitely female. Don't have those parts of the anatomy. But it's an expression I've always liked, and so I've used it a lot. I'm going to sit there with my dick in my hand, trying to get my needs met by somebody, and they're not hearing me. Now, I think, for me personally, this started for me very, very early in life. I was thinking about that this morning. I had a mother who was schizophrenic. She was diagnosed schizophrenic when I was about 7 years old and was hospitalized a lot during my childhood years, my growing up years. She was away a lot. But when she was around, after she'd had a bout of shock therapy and hospitalization and insane asylum residencies, and she was home and somewhat stable, she still wasn't really around. She was encapsulated in her own little bubble. She had her own little world going on. And I was the invisible, non-existent child in that space with her. And I remember as a kid, my mother sitting and just being totally immersed in reading her novels and chain smoking her cigarettes. And sometimes the cat would jump up into her lap and curl up there, and she wasn't even aware of its existence. And I'd say, Mommy, if I needed to get her attention on something, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And finally, I'd be breaking through that little bubble that she was encapsulated in. I couldn't get her attention any other way. I literally could not. For her, I existed outside that bubble, and she was just deeply immersed in her reading and her smoking. So I think my childhood probably in some bizarre way prepared me for knowing that there are certain people that I will encounter in life that I'm going to have to be pretty forceful with to get their attention. And damn it, I'm determined to, whatever it takes. I will not be that invisible child for somebody. I will not be invalidated by somebody ignoring me. The other day, I had to get pretty tough with a guy over at the Social Security Administration. Pardon me. He had called, offered me some options with respect to how I wanted to start receiving benefits, which I had applied for on November 1st of this year, 2017, based on retiring a lot earlier than I'd ever planned to. And I had to talk to my CPA and consult with him to find out how I could avoid shooting myself in the foot if I chose one option over another and have to pay a lot of government taxes with that option. Well, finally, I was able to get my accountant on the phone. It's holiday season. He had a lot of personal shit going on. I wasn't able to contact him. I wasn't able to get in touch with him. He wasn't responding to my emails. And it drove me kind of crazy. And I had to get a little tough with him, too, and say, you know, are you forcing me to look for help elsewhere? I have a low threshold for frustration. I'm not a very patient woman. It's probably one of my tragic flaws. Hang on. Okay, I thought I had to let the dog out. So once I talked to my CPA and got things straightened around in terms of my confusion over what to do and how to do it with my Social Security payouts, I contacted the Social Security guy immediately via email, via phone, said I'm ready to make my decision now to start receiving benefits. Please contact me. Almost 2 weeks go by. Almost 2 weeks. And I'm sitting here with my dick in my hand, waiting to have this guy finalize things with me. And I started getting frustrated, and I started getting angry. And when I get angry, boy, my dark side starts to bubble up. And I start to get pretty testy with people. So I called him up. I left him a pretty harsh voicemail and said, I'm going to have to talk to your superior. This is unacceptable behavior on your part with me. I mean, you kept coming after me and saying, have you decided yet? Have you decided yet? The minute I decide, you disappear, and I don't even get a courtesy email back from you saying, I'll call you as soon as I'm able. And I sent him a follow-up email, basically reiterating the same thing. Look, I'm going to contact your superior and complain about you because you're holding up my benefits. Not okay with me. You start messing with my money, it's not okay with me. So, after I made that phone call, after I sent him the email, lickety split. Such a miracle. Within 10 to 15 minutes, he was calling me. This guy at Social Security. Imagine that. Imagine my surprise. Now that there's a threat on the table, he gets motivated to respond to me. There are people you will encounter in this lifetime who are wired this way. There's nothing else that's going to get their attention and get them to be responsive to you. I promise you this is true. Why does this happen? Why do these people exist? These people exist because they grew up with abuse. They expect it. It's the only thing that activates a little anxiety in them, which floods their system with adrenaline, which helps them get motivated and stop procrastinating around responding to you and what you need from them. This is a sad truth. This is an unfortunate element of life. Am I happy that this exists? Am I happy that some people are wired this way? No, I'm not happy about it. But I'm telling you, unless you understand this, you're either going to go through life passively, tucking your tail between your legs, and waiting and waiting and waiting until rigor mortis is about to set in to get your needs met, or you're going to start throwing your weight around and demanding that somebody be responsible responsive to you. Now, I'm probably more narcissistic than the average bear. And I like it when my world revolves around me and I can go through my day and get a lot of errands done and there aren't any obstacles or speed bumps. But still, even still, if I didn't have this aspect in a fairly healthy and maybe slightly over the top way in my nature, I'd go through this lifetime not getting my needs met. My physical needs would not be met. So I want to teach you about this. You're not a bad person if you raise your voice. You're not a bad person if you get a little harsh with somebody when you're feeling frustrated that they are not responding to your needs. It's okay. Doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you somebody who's willing to take good enough care of yourself that no matter what you have to do, you're going to get your needs met. That's a healthy thing. That's not mean. That's not cruel. It's healthy. I'm hoping this can rearrange some things inside for you today and help you realize not everyone responds to kindness. Really. In fact, most people do not. Most people, you won't get their attention until you're tough with them. And that's a sad, 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 tragic commentary on how a lot of us were raised by our parental units. By the way, raising a child means raising them up, not beating them down. Goodbye for now. God bless. And I hope you have a healthy, harmonious, relaxing, restorative New Year.